Hello and welcome to Dime to Diamonds podcast. I am Suzanne Porske with Phoenix Financial Group. I am joined in studio today.
I'm Mark Farquhar with Phoenix Financial Group.
Rachelle Harp, CPA.
Yes, back at it, guys. Today, I want to talk to our audience about the true cost of caring for aging parents based on a blog that we posted on our website, the phx.financial. I think it's one of those, another kind of taboo stories. Like nobody wants to talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, nobody wants to talk about getting older or that your parents aren't going to live forever. Because at this point in time, I still think my parents are going to live forever.
I know. And unexpectedly, though, I mean, like I've shared before, my dad took his last breath and it wasn't planned. He had no permission to do that. And then just all the fallout from that with the surviving spouse, and if they get injured and they need assistance because they don't have each other anymore. And I know caring for aging American parents in America is ever growing right now. We've got the baby boomers. We're aging quite rapidly.
People are living longer than they used to, so there are different aspects to aging and the health care that goes involved when that hasn't always been there before because people didn't live long enough to have these difficulties.
Right. Even memory care.
That's a huge one.
You can't, and you know that, Mark, you can't leave somebody that's got an issue like that alone.
It's a whole different,
They're physically doing okay.
Yeah, that's what's sad is they're physically okay, but then their mind's just not there, and they got to have 24-hour supervision. So it's kind
and like
really
with you guys both work, you have kids, work full time, and had an aging parent. And thankfully, I think it was medication, just an off balance of medication for the most part.
My mother-in-law was living by herself and wasn't taking care of herself, and also just being around people, being on a schedule, all that, and that takes a lot of time for somebody
and
to
accountability.
So right. So,
which on a little side note here, I just had a client who retired. Her husband had transitioned. She's like, what do I do with myself? I'm retired. I don't want to work. I don't want to go and do the 40, 50, 60 hours a week. But what do I do now? And we just started having these conversations. And she said, I do love to take people that need a ride to go to a doctor's appointment. Or if there's a family member that wants to make sure that maybe grandpa, because he's living alone now, that he gets to the family dinner on Sundays. She runs those people there. We made a business out of it because they were giving her money.
Something she wants to do,
Right. And it can also go for caregiving. It doesn't have to be you don't have to be a CNA. You don't have to, do that.
You don't have to be certified or medically experienced to be able to help somebody with that.
Right.
So that as well as, I think of Broken Arrow has the senior center.
Yes.
And then my grandma lived in McAllister and she talked about going to the senior center. It was a place where she could go and actually interact with people.
I love our senior center. I think ours is the best I've ever seen or heard about. They come pick them up with the bus. It's $2 lunch. It's a hot meal, and they've got all these people there. Gets them out of the house, gives them a purpose. They bought all that stuff. So
well, and I also learned from the Broken Arrow neighbors that they have to-go bags for them for people who need to take food home for like the weekend, so that they'll actually have like spaghetti or something like that they can cook for themselves. So just fantastic opportunities to help the older generation who might need some assistance.
Right. It shows here that the U.S. has jumped to 63 million, which is a 45% increase over the past decade, making it 1 in every 4 Americans are a caregiver right now. And I don't see people slowing down working, and even with me, now I've got grandkids.
Right.
So I've got my kids, my grandkids. So when I'm off work and I'm not here, I want to be doing that. Not necessarily having to take care, possibly.
Right.
I mean, everything's different, but if they need 24-hour care, that's really, really tough. So
people who have 24-hour care, those families, they don't get a break. So they give caregivers 24/7, and that's exhausting.
Right. So the whole blog is just to start that conversation and have those courageous conversations. When you're talking with family of financially, how's this going to play out?
Right.
I talked to clients today and very well established. And that's one of my questions, your long-term care piece, because it's not necessarily long-term, like you're going to have a hip replacement. How does that work or whatever? But as we age and get older, what's in place if you can't do 2 out of your 6 adult daily living, like
Right.
transferring, toiletry, bathing, feeding, stuff like that.
You're
What's in
wanna
place for
you're
that?
going to want to stay home too. You don't want to
That's what I asked the clients today. I said, so
for that.
are you prepared to be institutionalized? Because most old long-term care policies, that's what's in there. That's the language in there. And they just both had these huge eyes. And I said, aside from that, what do you want it to look like? If you do have a hip replacement or you do get sick, what do you want it to look like? And they say, we want to be at home. And then who's going to take care of you? Should one of you transition, what family member? Because you're going to need to pay somebody to come in. And that's where that's what this blog was really about. What were you going to say?
Yeah, well, because most families nowadays, both mother and father, so the individuals that would be taking care of them, both have full-time jobs. Right. Kids are in school, and then they need to take care of an aging parent. So if they need to take them to doctor's appointments, do all that stuff, they're taking time off work. So they're using up their vacations, medical out-of-pocket costs, all those types of things are factors.
And these family members are doing every aspect. They're doing the financial part, the doctor part, the medical care, and then they're taking care of them physically. So it's taking a lot out of families. Yeah.
And that's why I think that it's not talked about financially. Those are one of those little hidden spots in there when you're talking and planning financially what your retirement looks like. I think in those first years when we're trying to get to retirement, and I say first few because people hard pressed till the age 60, 65, 70 to do that. What's going to get you through retirement? Because you have expenses now that you are not, I promise you probably haven't thought about. Which is who is going to drive you. There's not a lot of people that want to work for free, but statistically, and again, back to that blog, we're showing that, the average caregiver is 51 years old and 61% of them are women. That's huge.
And averaging 27 hours a week just on the caregiving part.
Right.
I mean, that's, it's
well,
another
you
job.
think about it, like when you were running up to Oklahoma City, you got the drive up there, then you're going to take her out. She went out, didn't you take her to lunch? She went and got food.
Right.
Came back, visited a little bit.
Right. And then when we brought her home with the dementia, I mean, you can't leave her. She got out of the house. We left her alone for 15 minutes. And so it's.
Is that the Christmas party?
Yeah, it's a Christmas party. Sure. Yeah.
I think you just got here.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, let's go. And you go, she got out.
At the yard guy, she's physically able to get outside, but it's scary. So, and then it's just requires somebody to be tied down and
luckily
it's expensive, right? So that's a huge financial burden, whether it is a institution where you've sent them to a wonderful memory facility, but we're talking 15 to 20,000 a month, or whether you're paying for an in-home nurse to come in, but you have to have them there 24/7.
24/7.
48 hours a day that you're paying for some individual who is trained somewhat medically to come and sit with your family member. I mean, that's a huge cost to somebody's retirement, or if it's the family.
And that's why it's important to have those family discussions, because if you talk about it, you could get other members of the family to help you rather than it all being on one person. See that a lot too, where it's all on one person.
Right.
And then you don't get any help or anything. So anyway.
And give them permission while you're of sound mind of what to do with you when you're not of sound mind. You know what I mean? Because I think that a lot of decisions are made by the caregivers based on who they used to be.
Correct.
Yeah. Like, oh my gosh, they want to stay at their house. They're not going to want this. But if they keep breaking out in the middle of the night, like with sundowners and everything.
Sit there at the dementia, at the memory care. She likes it. She doesn't want to leave. She asks me all the time, am I going to have to leave? And I go, no, you're good, And so.
Well, luckily you're a retirement specialist and financial consultant, because you're able to go in and take what assets she had, and you've done beautifully with it. Yes.
That's why they need to talk to us too, because we have products that you can put in place now that will take care of that later on, because a lot of people wait till the crisis happens, and then crisis planning is a lot worse than.
Oh yeah.
Ahead. So anyway.
I know for me, it's disheartening because I'm like, God, you've done so much to get to this point. And like your mother-in-law, your father-in-law really built a legacy for her. Yeah. He unexpectedly passed away in his sleep. And then now you're taking care of her and using maybe his resources or whatever.
Both of theirs. Yeah. They save money
together and how to make it last, because nobody wants to run out of money, especially when they're aging and
when you need that special care.
Right.
I mean, you can't go to just a regular facility at that point in time.
Right. Right. So can't stress that enough, of just getting your ducks in a row and estate planning done, medical directives for the elderly, because that comes into play. People want to, oh, he shouldn't have such and such in charge because he wasn't of his right mind. Save your family all of that headache and heartache. Get it taken care of now when you have all your facilities and you're able to make those decisions. Hey, if I can't, this is who I want to take over. And in the medical directives, durable power of attorney is the same way. If 61% statistically women are having to step in this role, then I'm encouraging you, if you are an adult child, you need to have these conversations with your adults, with your parents, with your aunts and uncles and grandma and grandpa now, and prepare it. And then if you have to pay for it, then you dig in your pocket and do it, because it's going to save you financially and otherwise, because emotionally it takes a huge toll. Right.
Is the asset protection and all that stuff that you can put into place ahead of time. So,
well, and it was nice. One of our workshops, you guys, we held, the lady that came in from Houston, one of her family members was in those workshops, and I did the same plea. If you have a family member that you know you're going to be receiving this, and you're going to be making those hard decisions like Mark had to make, Mark and Kim, talk to them, get it taken care of. You know, you can't sign for them, but you can encourage them. And a lot of us parents sometimes just need that little bit of a kick to say, hey, do it for me, which is also for you, to make sure it's taken care of. And
really, you are doing it. If you're one of the ones listening, you are doing it for that next generation. You are saving them the frustrations, the hassles, the arguments, because, you know, Kim says she needed to stay here and it needed to be a blue room. And someone else said, no, mom would never want to be in a blue room. It needs to be a purple room. You're saving those arguments. You're really just trying to prepare and make a transition easy for everybody.
Right. And let me talk about long-term care. When you do standalone policies on long-term care, you have to read the I call it the guts of it, the middle of it.
Right.
You have to see what those qualifications and what those elimination periods are, what criteria you have to meet. That is one of the
do you get to stay home? That's
right.
Really
That's what I love about when you get a rider, and I'll talk our language, a rider on an investment product that says that we will double the payment that you're getting, whatever you're getting. If your investment is paying you $5,000 a month, it will double to $10,000 if you can't do 2 out of the 6. And the only thing that they require is a letter from a licensed physician that states that you can't do 2 out of your 6 ADLs, and then that kicks it on.
And if you don't use it, you're not sitting there paying for it. So
when you get that $10,000, that extra $5,000 a month, you could then have that money to say, hey, Mark, could you come over and take care of me, or hire a neighbor or hire somebody? I know that CNAs are very costly. So if it's medical, you know, you have to, it's not going to go
that. And it gives if you have a family member taking care of you, you can use it, bring a caregiver in to somebody to clean the house. You can use it for anything you want to make it easier for you and the people taking care of you. So it's really flexible.
Right.
Which is good. So.
And that's the stuff that you need. It's not on the news, or it's not on these television ads. This is sitting down with somebody, a licensed professional, and saying, okay, this is where I'm at. This is where I want to be. And then navigate me through.
Right.
And that's where we kind of click in, and I'm like, okay, so what happens at 75? What happens at 80? What happens if, because we've seen these scenarios, let us play those out. Let us give you some options of our suggestions, and then implement them.
But you got to do it now. You can't wait till something happens and go, hey guys, I need that rider you're talking about, or I need to do that estate planning now.
Right.
I mean, it's
right.
You got to do it ahead of time. So.
And people are like, oh, but what about the cost and all that? It is nothing compared to, and we've talked about that.
It is.
You were saying, you know,
if you're talking 15 to 20,000 a month to be in one of those facilities, and you don't have this plan or this insurance policy that helps pay for it, or you're bringing in the CNA and you don't have that, that's coming out of your pocket or somebody
maybe
else's
it's
pocket.
Costing your family members
Correct.
Their pocket taking care of you, because it does affect their financial situation for sure. So
and
paying
like
for that little up front would take a lot. So,
and I think you've had to do that with a couple of your clients, is kind of is a kind of a spin down, and get them
Right.
ready for Medicaid, because you could see the writing on the wall.
Right. Yeah. That's my mother-in-law. That's what she's doing. You've got to spend all of her money. So we put her in a facility. She's paying for that herself. And then when
And
you
then
get
preparing.
down to nothing, then you get her prepared for Medicaid, and then Medicaid will kick in. But the thing about that is you don't get to pick you do, but it's limited on where you can.
Right. Because there's only so many,
Right.
yeah, beds, but more than beds, but rooms, beds.
Right.
And make sure that you use it on her medical, on her tax return.
Yeah.
Right.
Memory facilities qualify as part of your medical expenses.
Okay.
So, there's that rule you have to get over 7.5 of your AGI before you can start taking medical, which limits a lot of people. However, as I discussed, the expense of what you're looking at, people get over that threshold pretty quickly. Even my high-end clients do. So you're able to use that. You have to get it directly from the facility, but it really does make a big difference. If you're the one paying out of pocket, if you get reimbursed by insurance and different things, you have to obviously reduce that down. You can't double dip. But a lot of people aren't aware of that, but it makes a big difference when we're talking the 15 to 20.
Right. So say that one more time. You're saying.
So I'm saying that, when we itemize on your tax return, the first column bucket that you can use is medical.
Right.
We have to get 7.5% of whatever your adjusted gross income is before we can start taking $1. But for individuals who are spending $15,000 to $20,000 on a memory facility, you get to that threshold pretty quickly. And so we're then able to itemize, and there's no cap on it. So all that you spend during that year at one of those memory facilities is part of your taxable deduction.
Wow. Fantastic. That again is why people need to just start having the conversations and get prepared. You could save so much. I remember telling you that, these people haven't filed taxes in X amount of years. You go, they could be getting a refund. I'm like, never even thought about that.
Because there can be positives sometimes when stuff hasn't happened.
Right.
I mean, there are negatives too, but there
But
could be positives.
Going back on that, if they haven't filed, do they have to go file the previous years to?
Well, legally, you have to file your tax return. So legally, they can get a non-filing penalty. So that's piece number one. Unfortunately, the way the IRS works is if they owe you money, you can only go back 3 years. So if this individual, let's say for 10 years, was due a refund, she lost out 7.
Okay.
She can get the last 3. If she's owes for those prior time frames,
They go back from the time you were born.
Yes, they always go back because you were supposed to. But in that specific case, what we will definitely be doing is requesting that they will forgive some of the penalties.
Yeah.
We can't get interest forgiven, but we can sometimes get penalties forgiven. So we'll definitely be trying to do that.
Yeah. Fantastic. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much. We kind of ran over my little 15-minute mark, but that's okay. I think it's some great information. If you guys want to hear more, make sure that you hit that subscribe. And every time one of these episodes is uploaded, you'll get notified of it. And then also tell your friends. And I think it's good information. We always try to be relative on things that matter the most, because what got them to retirement will not get you through retirement. Planning is imperative, not just for you and your household, but maybe what you're going to be inheriting. Mitigate some confusion and some loss financially if you can. Talk to the parents, talk to the family members that are around you. I have clients that are single, that have, they've got siblings. And I did one of those a couple of weeks ago. He said, I'm doing this because I don't want my sister to have to go through what I've seen her have to go through with other family members. Even though I don't think I have very much, I have a house, a car, some money.
It adds up.
It does add up. And he goes, I don't want to create more of a mess than necessary. So, all right. Well, thank you so much again for joining us. This is Suzanne with Dime to Diamonds with Phoenix Financial Group, joined by
Mark Farquhar with Phoenix Financial Group.
Rachelle Harp CPA, or you can find me at www.harpaccounting.com.
Yes. Thank you so much. And we will talk to you next time.